and welcome to a brand new episode of the Opposition Preview. I am Diyar and today we'll be looking ahead to the Arsenal game, 12:30 kickoff Premier League game at Selhurst Park against a big side. However, it's not the best opportunity for Palace, let's be real. The injuries are hurting us right now. It does seem like Wilf will be back for this game, which is a massive bonus. However, we've got so many players out and so many crucial players out that going into this game, it hurts us massively. And I mean, just relying on Wilfried Zaha shouldn't do it. I mean, if he has one of them games where he goes crazy, then it might work. But 8 times out of 10, when we solely rely on Wilfried Zaha and have no other options, we tend to struggle because teams know what we're going to do. So it's not positive in that aspect. And looking at this Arsenal team, it's a completely different side to what we saw when we last faced them. They've got a new manager in Artetas, and in a short amount of time he's come into the club. It seems like they've built up an identity and also relationships. So it's, as I said, it's not the greatest time to play them. But let's go and talk to the Gooner Talk and Arsenal fan channel and get Arsenal's perspective ahead of the game. Since our last game at the Emirates, you've had a change of manager. Arteta has come in. How has he been so far, and do you see him staying at the club in the long run?
Yes, Arteta. He has been at the club now for, it seems, a lot longer than it has been. He's only been in charge for a few games, but the impact, my God, the impact has been massively impressive. It wasn't a fast start, a draw against Bournemouth away from home, followed up by a loss at home to Chelsea, of which I was there, and it was extremely painful watching Arsenal battle for a lot of the game and finally lose out when the pressure did eventually tell. But the win against Manchester United, following that up with a difficult performance against Leeds, in which they had to really turn things on in the second half to get us through to the fourth round of the FA Cup, shows that there has been an immediate impact from Mikel Arteta with this Arsenal team. I'm hugely impressed with how he has gone about what he wants to implement. There's a lot more energy. There's a lot more focus on trying to get players pressing. I really thought that sort of lacked towards the end of the Unai Emery era and definitely bled into the interim period under Freddie Ljungberg. But now we're seeing a definite change in the Arsenal mentality. And if players aren't going to get with it, the message is from the Spanish coach that they're not going to be in the side. And that is definitely something that Arsenal fans have been hugely crying out for recently. Finally, some accountability, some responsibility being taken, and that is definitely being implemented. Do I see him here in the long term? If what I can see happening continues into the future, then there is no way that Arsenal want to give up Mikel Arteta as a coach anytime soon. And if you're going to ask me in terms of where do I see this happening really far down the line, a new contract at this early stage, if this type of change, this type of momentum continues, I can see that definitely being a long-term project for the Arsenal man.
Tactically, what can we expect different to when we last faced you under Emery?
Now, as I mentioned in my Arteta video just previously, the energy is definitely key. A high press will happen, and Arsenal will want to get at Crystal Palace off the ball as soon as possible. Now, I should caveat that, because if you watch the Leeds game, the first half against Leeds weren't that great. Leeds absolutely dominated the ball, played some really, really good football, and Arsenal weren't the same side that we'd seen against Chelsea in the first half and for most of the Manchester United game. Now, the difference is that Arsenal have this lingering mental issue at the end of Unai Emery's tenure and lingering into Freddie Ljungberg's interim time, that they didn't really respect a lot of the opponents. They gave them a lot of respect in terms of giving them the ball and allowing them to shoot as much as they wanted, but actually in terms of chasing them down, trying to fight them for the ball, there wasn't really that same enthusiasm that we've seen since Mikel Arteta has taken over. And that was showing again in the Leeds game in the first half. The second half things really picked up and it changed. So it depends what type of Arsenal wants to turn up against Crystal Palace. But if it's the one that Mikel Arteta wants, which is certainly something he's going to fight very hard to see on a consistent basis, then you're going to see an Arsenal that are very dangerous in wide areas. We're seeing at the moment, especially against Manchester United, a front line of Alba, Pepe and Lacazette in a front three, which has really excited a lot of Arsenal fans, finally seeing those guys together, when Ozil has definitely been a huge standout player since he returned. And then you've got the wing-back area as well. Maitland-Niles has been an absolute revelation since Mikel Arteta took over. And of course you've got the left-hand side of Kolasinac returning from injury. Sokratis deputised at right-back against Leeds, so you can imagine that Maitland-Niles will come back in. Torreira as well, really, really dogged, tenacious little player in the midfield, will be taking the balls back and intercepting Palace passes as much as possible. But there's plenty that Arsenal can do to hurt this Palace side.
Players like Ozil and Torreira seem rejuvenated under Arteta. Are there any other players that Palace should watch out for?
Yes, definitely Torreira and Ozil have definitely improved, as I've already mentioned. Torreira specifically playing in that deeper role that suits him a lot more than the more advanced role that Unai Emery wanted him playing in when he was in charge. Things have changed now. But in terms of other players that you should look out for, I mentioned in the previous answer that Ainsley Maitland-Niles has been an absolute revelation under Mikel Arteta. He gets much more forward. He puts some really decent balls into the box. And actually defensively, he's a lot more committed to the cause, pressing players when he needs to and actually using his pace to get back into position. He was really caught sometimes under Unai Emery and Freddie Ljungberg out of position, and opposition teams were able to get in behind him. But now he looks a real threat, as does the player on his opposite flank. Sead Kolasinac looks really, really dangerous going forwards, but he does look a little bit vulnerable in that behind area. Whilst Maitland-Niles has improved defensively, Kolar has sort of struggled to still maintain that defensive record that has always been a bit wavering since he arrived on a free from Schalke. In terms of other players, Nicola Pepe has similarly turned a bit of a corner, looks dangerous at times. Against Leeds, he did struggle a bit, but Manchester United, he got a goal that was really, really necessary. Scoring from open play, which is really good to see him from, because at dead ball situations, he is obviously fantastic at free kicks. Those 2 goals in the Europa League really helped him in terms of sort of getting that respect level back and a little bit of right knowledge on his name, I guess, and making people think, hey, maybe we've actually got a bit of a player here. But Nicola Pepe, if he can come good, can really cause a lot of problems. Palace do, of course, have the player that we wanted to get instead of Nicola Pepe originally, being Wilfried Zaha. Very, very different style player. And what you can expect from Pepe is someone who wants to cut in a lot. I mean, his right foot is pretty much non-existent at times, it seems, so far this season. But if you want to stop Pepe, you've got to stop him from cutting inside and showing him on his weaker foot, because he isn't really that great on it. And he does hold onto the ball for a little bit too long. But if he's dangerous and if he's on it, he's a real threat.
Where do you see the game being won and lost on Saturday?
I mean, the game against Palace, it's always seemingly won and lost in terms of Arsenal's mentality and defensive ability. I can wax lyrical all day about how much I think Ainsley Maitland-Niles has improved, or how much I think Sokratis and David Luiz have improved. Chambers is now out for a long period, 9 months it seems, of an injury, and he was looking really, really good before he got that injury. So it will probably be Sokratis and David Luiz to face Palace, and then Kolasinac left with Ainsley Maitland-Niles right. We are still weak in that area. We still do make mistakes. And even though Arteta's managed to get 2 clean sheets in his last 2 games, there has still been issues. And it's actually more about the luck and the commitment of some of these players that means that we have kept those clean sheets rather than actual defensive might or ability. So we're always going to be weak at the back. I also think that we're very, very weak on the counter-attack. We're going to press a lot of players forwards, and whilst that means we might win balls in the opposition's half, in Palace's half, it also means that we will commit a lot of players forward. And if we are caught in behind with Wilfried Zaha, if he does play, obviously apparently he's a bit of a doubt and he didn't play in their previous game, but if he does get in behind us, we've seen like the game against us at the Emirates last season where Mustafi completely lost him and he was able to score. We're vulnerable in those areas, and defensively that's always going to be a big key thing, is getting hit on the counter at Arsenal. It always looks like the opposition teams can score. So that's where I sort of think that we would lose this game. But where we might win this game is if our attacking front line is on it. We've wasted a hell of a lot of chances. Lacazette is desperate for a goal. He's 5 games now, I think, without a goal, and that's really key for him because confidence is a massive part of his game. But if you watch him very closely, goals isn't the only thing that makes Lacazette tick. He's a very fantastic physical player. He holds players off very, very well. And if he can start taking some of his chances as well as setting up his mates like Aubameyang, then I think there's a chance that Arsenal can score a lot of goals for the rest of the season and, of course, in this game against Palace. But in terms of where we might lose it, defensively, definitely key. But in terms of a forward momentum, if we're on point and we're taking our chances, I definitely would put Arsenal ahead to win this one.
And finally, let's have your lineup and score predictions.
So lineup prediction, I'm going to go with Leno at the back, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Sokratis, David Luiz, Kolasinac, Torreira and Xhaka have performed really, really well together. Ozil in front of them, and then a front 3 of Pepe, Alba and Laka will probably return. Anyone else that I can think of might play. You might see Ceballos come on. He's come back from injury recently and hasn't really performed too well since joining on loan from Real Madrid. He's had a couple of decent games. Matteo Guendouzi, can't see him playing as much because his form has really, really dipped. But you might see some cameos, that's the word I meant. You might see a cameo from Reece Nelson. He's got a couple of starts in the Bournemouth game, for instance, but it depends what Arteta wants to go for. I think that we'll go full strength. I think he wants to keep the momentum up. Alba was rested because he was slightly ill against Leeds, so he'll definitely be coming back in, and hopefully those can get the win. In terms of a prediction for the scoreline, Selhurst Park is really, really tricky. It's I mean, they got a point against us at the Emirates. I was there. It was the game in which Xhaka told the fans to F off and walked off, and it wasn't exactly the happiest time at Arsenal when we dropped points against Palace. But I think that Arsenal's momentum has changed. I think we're a different side, different mentality. And if Arteta can really get the wheels turning on this side on a consistent basis and pick up a run, you could see us fighting towards that top half of the top four, top half of the top half of the table, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But yeah, I'm going to go with a very sneaky 2-1 win to the Arsenal. But again, I've got such huge respect for Palace at the end of the day because they have caused us so many problems over the years, and I'm always worried when we have to go. I hate going there as a fan. It's a horrible place to sit. You can't really see much of the game, but it's a proper classic old away ground, and I know the Arsenal away fans that will be there this weekend will enjoy being there. I just hope that we can enjoy the game a little bit more than your Palace fans. But good luck for the rest of the season. Not so much at the weekend, but I'm looking forward to a great game. So I'm going to go over 2-1 win to the Arsenal.
Thank you so much for that. Make sure to check out their channel. The link will be in the description down below. However, if you have enjoyed the video, please leave a like down below as it helps massively. And also make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any other content. And until next time, up the Palace.